It's the Goldfields Truck Power GFL podcast, all thanks to Goldfields Truck Power when it comes to sales, servicing, parts, all that sort of stuff, plus hire. All you have to do is see Goldfields Truck Power, 5 Epper Street in West Kalgoorlie. Call them on 9021 4800 or check out the website truckpower.net.au, DL 20938. Well, shortly we will catch up here on our GFL podcast, which is back this week, with Jeff Delbridge, who is the coach of the Great Souther Colts Carnival squad. And we always see the youngsters going away for a good time there, and sometimes it has been rather beneficial. We're scary here in the Goldfields, and the other teams don't want to play us. We'll come to that shortly. But Matt James, hello to you. 11 in the big league last week for reserves, 27-17, 179. The Diorites defeated Boulder 2 goals, those two coming in the second quarter. In the Colts games between Boulders and Mines, it was 12-6, 78. Boulder defeated Mines 6-13, 49. And in the league game, despite the 2 duck eggs in the first, it was 16-22, 118, the Diorites to 6-7, 43. Rodney Jetta back in the Diorites lineup and booting 5 last week in the league game. While the games at Sir Richard Moore Sports Arena, geez, it was a close one. It was between Railways and Kangas, and I tell you what, turnovers again, costing Kangas a position up the ladder and another win. 13-6, 84, the Panthers. 12-9, 81, the Roos. In the reserves game, 13-18, 96 to 1 goal, 4-10. A massive win there to the Roos in the reserves. And in the Colts, it was 15-13, 103 to 11-3, 69 in the Colts, with a game which was, I think it was a 15-a-game side. So there we go. That's how things work out at the moment. On the top of the leading goal kickers list, Rodney Jetta with 36 from Jared Brown at Kangas with 30, and a stack of players from about 18 through to 13, including Cody Coleman on 18, Brad Keast from Campbell on 16, so too is Luke Nugent from Mines, who got 8 in one game a couple of weeks ago, and Ryan Stubbs from Railways and Troy Murphy from Campbell all on 13. In the reserves, it's Matt James kicking his right foot through, 34 from the Diorites so far in the reserves. Goal kicking after last weekend's 11, he's shot to the top from Nathan Brown from Kangas and Mick McLean from Railways. And then in the Colts, Luke Spooner on 26 from Ryan Borchett on 24. Kangas at this stage leading the Colts ladder, undefeated. In the reserves, it's Kangas from Mines, Railways, Campbell and Boulder. Kangas and Mines are at the top there, 6 wins each, although there has been a fine there to Mines, who played an unregistered player earlier this season. And on the league ladder at the moment, the Diorites 7-1, 5-2 Railways, Kangas 4-3, although that could have been as high as 6-1. Campbell to 2-5, and Boulder yet to salute in season 2013 in the league squad. Thanks to Goldfields Truck Power. Joining me is the coach of the Great Souther Colts Carnival squad, and that is Jeff Delbridge, in a chance to talk a bit about the juniors. We've talked a lot of senior footy here on this particular podcast, but now it's the juniors' chance to shine, and it's not this weekend, but next weekend. Is it Lake Grace or Kulin this year, mate?
G'day, Glenn. No, we're off to Kulin this year.
Okay.
They have 2 years around, so the last couple of years have been at Lake Grace, and then they go to Kulin for 2 years, and then back to Lake Grace, etc. So, yeah, so for all of these guys, even the third-year Colts in this group, it'll be a new venue for everyone.
Yeah, okay. So it's a great chance for people who are involved in footy to hear a bit about the Colts and how they're going. You start off with a preliminary squad, don't you, or try and get it down to about 25?
Yeah, we do. We take 25 away, Glenn, and look, obviously, just from a bit of experience, as mentioned before, we never have issues with having numbers. One of the strengths is that kids are just keen to go. They really want to go away. So for the reason so there's not too many disappointed faces later on, we generally just try to keep it down to what we require. Mm-hmm. And basically, so we've got a squad of 25 that's eager and ready to go. When
you look at some of these names who have represented the Goldfields in the young fellas, there are people who are still around the club. There's Michael Worthingtons, there's Mitch Grahams, there's Aaron Reimer. The list just goes on and on and on. And our Colts have always been right up there with the best in the state, haven't they, at these particular carnivals?
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, you can add names like Ryan Bowie and a few others there to that list, and even my son Cale, who's obviously gone through that system as well. And a lot of them guys now, if you look at the the strength of the juniors coming through, well, juniors in regard to the early 20-year-old kids in the GFL at the moment, a lot of them have definitely gone through this carnival, and I'm sure if you talk to all of them, they'd all have fond memories. And Goldfields itself have got a pretty proud record in regard to being one of the leading contenders when, I think they've won, back in the last couple of years when we've been beaten in grand final twice. But apart from that, as I said, I think over the last 6 or 7 years they would have won 4 carnivals. So we go down there as one of the sides to beat year in, year out, I believe.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's what we want, mate. And I suppose it's a difference to senior footy that's represented here in the Goldfields, isn't it? Because with the youngsters, they don't have to, I suppose, worry about much of the work side of things, but they're just a group of young fellas who time and time again just want to go away and represent the Goldfields.
Oh, look, yeah, without a doubt. And as we know, I was actually talking to Hugh Gallagher in the street during the week, and as we know, the issue with the scene is and that's just life in the industry and where we live in Kalgoorlie. A lot of these guys are, tradesmen as such, start doing big dollars as they get a bit older, and unfortunately taking 3 days off of work at, big rates and chance to get injured, etc. Yeah, while it's frustrating, I can understand the reasonings at times why they don't go away, but with the juniors as such, with the Colts, a lot of these kids are either still studying or just on apprentice wages, so taking a half a day off work on a Friday afternoon isn't a big issue. We travel Friday lunchtime and we're back in Kalgoorlie on Sunday night, which is a perfect setup in regard to just having a weekend away playing football. So that's another reason why I think it's so popular in regard to, number-wise.
Now, it's still to come up. You've got your final training session. That's on Monday night. The jumper presentation as well, also happening at the Hannans Club. You've whittled it down to a team of 25. Can you tell us a bit about some of those who have made the squad?
Yeah, I can. As I said, Glenn, we've got a final training session at 6 o'clock at the Boulder Oval down at Diggadord Oval down the Boulders End at 6 o'clock. We've got a few, hopefully, celebrities to come down to, oversee training, etc. So, it's welcome to, the public or anyone that's generally interested want to come down and have a look at the best young talent on the track before we go away. And honestly, it's pretty good to watch them train because they're all the skills are, immaculate. So it's a pretty easy job I've got there, Glenn. Just put the cones out and they just basically do the rest. So they're all pretty good kids. And then obviously after that at 7:45, we've got the jumper presentation on at the Hannans Club, and again that's welcome to anyone that wants to come along and have a look. With the squad we've got there's a fair degree of Kalgoorlie boys in there. We've got 10 representing Kalgoorlie, and obviously they're on top of the was at the moment. And the Colts undefeated, going strong, and obviously they were always going to have the majority of the squad, but we've tried to keep it fairly across the board. And I'm saying that they've all went to spots 100%. Mines have got 4, Boulder's got 4, Campbell got 4, and Rower's got 3. So there's a nice spread. Third-year boys, we've got a few guys that are going down there for their third carnivals, and obviously a lot of these guys are going to be ones that we're going to be relying on for that little bit of experience and just being that older bracket. We've got Jack Martin from Boulders, and Jack's been playing a fair bit of regular football for Boulders week in, week out. Vic Birmingham. Vic was an all-star down at Lake Grace last year, and again, I'll be, leaning on him a fair bit. My own son Jordan. Jordan's been down for the last couple of Lake Grace. He's won a McGregor medal and obviously gone on represented the Goldfields at the regional Colts Carnival in Perth. So I'll be relying hopefully on him. Peter Church. Pitts is another one. Played for Kangas and obviously Lofty from Dorrits as well. So there's a handful of the senior blokes we've got, but as I said, we're taking a couple of the younger guys. We've got a couple of famous football names in the Goldfields. We've got Ryan Borchett and Seb Wellstead. They're regulars in the Colts week in, week out, and they've clearly earned their spots. But a couple of famous names there as well.
Yeah, good
and
to see.
Also, speaking of famous names, we've got young Zane O'Loughlin, and obviously we know his pedigree.
Yeah, absolutely. Ryan Borchett there booting 4 last week for Railways against Kangas too. So you're a man that obviously goes out to these Colts games. I see you at the footy almost week in, week out, looking at all of the talent that's on display. But you go there in mind with looking at the youngsters, seeing how they perform, and then obviously putting their names into your little black book, particularly after rounds 1 through to 5, to say who would be best to represent the Goldfields. Is that how you pretty much look at it?
Yeah, look, without doubt, along with Ben Gabberty, who's my assistant down there, and Ben, I'm glad he's on board. He's got a pretty good footy brain as well, and being through the system. So look, we covered the majority of the games throughout the year. I would have said I would have watched 90% of the Colts games leading into when we picked the initial squad. Mm-hmm. We also were mindful too, looking after the future, that we didn't stack it up with too many third-year boys. At the end of the day, we've picked the best kids that are available, but on saying that's also pretty pleasing to know there's a nice spread between first, second and third-year Colts, because, as I said, next year again there's going to be another 6 or 7 that move on. I think the turnover from last year to this year, as I said, there's 16 new faces going down this year.
That's almost the whole squad.
Exactly, it's huge. So obviously got to be mindful as well that going forward that you do sort of make sure you pick up all 3 grades, so that year in, year out we sort of got numbers to sort of keep the strength,
Joining me is Jeff Delbridge from the Colts Great Southern Carnival squad. They're off to Kulin next weekend, all thanks to Goldfields Truck Power. They're in the podcast hot seat this morning. Now, also, mate, who gives you a bit of a hand behind the scenes? Because you make the journey away from the Goldfields, so you need people to look after jumpers and waters and all that sort of stuff. You may have a few players who aren't getting a game who may help you out a little bit in each particular game. But is there a group of lads? I know Alan Moore put a lot of time and effort into the Great Southern Carnival squad over the last 10, 11 odd years or so.
Oh, exactly. I've got the easy job, Glenn. I just turn up. It's Alan Moyle that does all the work. Yes, Alan's been doing this for 10 years now, and obviously knows it off the back of his hand. And as I said, he said to me once, and I took it on board, and I've run with it ever since. He said, all you need to do is coach him. So Alan organises the water bowls. He gets all the footies pumped up. He organises all the accommodation. He organises all the bars. He basically does the lot. On saying that, as I said, I've got Ben Gabberty, who'll be my assistant along the journey. We also have a nice band of supporters that are there year in, year out, and including a couple of the presents. Jeff Martin. Mm-hmm. Jeff has been down there regularly for the last couple of years, and the Cambalda boys, Matt Price and the boys, they're just Colts weekend junkies. They're there year in, year out. But it's always good to look around when you go away and see a few regular faces, and obviously with no football on that weekend in the Goldfields, it'd be nice to see a few familiar faces down there supporting us.
Yeah, absolutely. One last thing, mate. I know that accommodation is pretty limited in Kulin. Where have they got you shacked up this year?
Well, last couple of years we actually sat in the back of a shearing shed, and it was all right for me. I had a little bed, but them boys sitting on that cold cement with the swag. But they tell me we've upgraded to about a 3-star this year in the golf club.
Okay, so, beautiful.
Again, I think there's a bed for me. I'm not sure about the rest of them, but I think I'll be bedded up. But I know one thing, it's more than likely going to be cold down there. But yeah, look, we're ready to go. As I said, our first game we've got the late game for a change on the Saturday morning. We play the Upper Great Southern at 11 a.m. on Saturday morning, and all being well, when we win that, we'll then play the winner of Peel and Esperance, and then all being well, I'm sure we'll meet the Great Southern. Hopefully at 3 o'clock or 1 o'clock on Sunday afternoon of the big one.
Terrific, mate. We do wish you all the very best of luck, and you can follow the scores from next week's Colts Great Southern Carnival with us on our Facebook page for the GFL as well as Twitter. A lot of people out there following that along, and also, of course, wishing the boys the very best of luck, and we'll keep you up to date with what happens with the boys while they're away. Jeff, thanks very much for your time with us today, mate, and we look forward to hearing some good results coming from the boys from the track from next week. Just before you go, I know being a diorite as well, you must have been pretty happy with last week's reunion, mate. Did you have a few frothies?
Well, I was away hitting a cue ball around, but by all reports, by the sounds of it, it was pretty well organised, and there was a lot of old faces back at the club, and it was a good era around there. Obviously, Mines have had a pretty good run over the last 20 years, and they were a couple of days to savour. I think a couple of them were a little bit, grumpy. They're about to come back again next year and do it all again.
Well, terrible winning 2 in a row, isn't it?
The answer to that, I suppose, is stop winning premierships, isn't it? But all that aside, but on saying that, thanks for your support yourself, Glenn, and it's good to know that everyone's behind us, so we'll go down there and do our best.
Yeah, bloody oath, mate. All the very best to you down there with all the young boys. Thanks again, Jeff.
Good on you, Glenn. Thanks for your time.
It's Jeff Delbridge, the coach of the Colts Great Southern Carnival squad. The squad itself formally named on Monday night, and also their final training session as well. And boys, from all reports, you need to look forward to going to that training session on Monday night too, because it's a little bit of a surprise Jeff's got up his sleeve. Now, last week we were due to have a podcast, but we ran out of bandwidth, can you believe? We've had too many podcasts, so we're under...